What else are you gonna do
I guess.
when
yeah.
like an orphan baby in a basket has your name on it?
I guess. I mean, yeah. I guess the welfare system in this small town is not very well developed or
You're
whatever.
just like, yep, here you go, enjoy.
You made it. You take care of it.
Yeah.
Have fun. Hello and welcome to Steam Powered Movies. This is a podcast about steampunk films hosted by me, Mike Fraedrich, and I'm here with my co-host.
Hello, I am Dana Fraedrich. I am a steampunk writer and podcaster and, just myriad of things.
Person, yeah. Great person.
Yeah, I'm a human also.
Also human. Mike, also human here. I just wanted to clarify that up front.
It's just that like my list of identifiers seems to be growing.
Yeah. Mine's mostly human, but also podcast and music producer.
You're a
and
podcast.
Some of the things. Yes, I am a podcast.
This is going really well.
This is going well. Welcome to the listeners for tuning in to hear these two humans speak about a movie.
So good.
Yeah, and the movie we watched this time is the film from 2007, Stardust, starring Claire Danes and Charlie Cox, narrated by Sir Ian McKellen.
And based on the novel by Neil Gaiman.
Yes. So Dana here has read the book, so she'll have some background on that.
Indeed.
And we just watched this movie.
Look at us. We're getting better. When we did our very first podcast, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, I had not read the book beforehand. This time I very specifically wanted to have read the book first.
Doing homework. Yeah.
So adult.
So, yeah, we talk about steampunk movies. We're going to talk about this one. We're going to talk about what makes it steampunk, how steampunk is it, some of our favorite things, some of our least favorite things, some general thoughts.
It's like a fun pub talk.
Yeah.
We did a little research, but we're not like super movie critics or whatever. We're just having a chat.
Yeah. So thanks for tuning in to our chat.
But Mike, what is steampunk? I always am the one who defines it, so I feel like you should define it this time.
Okay. So for any new listeners who are unfamiliar, what is steampunk? So the best I understand it, it's Victorian era style and time period, usually with some futuristic kind of technology, but based in steam power. So, like a spaceship powered by steam or an airship powered by steam, those kinds of things. How to do?
That'll work.
Yeah, okay, close enough.
We'll take it.
There's lots of gears and like rivets and metal, but steam powered things and engines. Yeah. So this movie, Stardust, we just watched it.
Indeed.
Any just general thoughts? What'd you think of it?
I mean, it's funny. If you know me, this is going to come as a bit of a shock, but I actually like the film better than the book.
Oh, okay.
That never happens.
Wow.
Ever.
That's high praise.
I know. The book is fine. I think I just really don't like Tristan's character in the book. He is a peeping Tom, which is referenced in the film.
Yeah.
They say like, Henry Cavill's character.
Yeah.
Whose name I've immediately forgotten.
Humphrey.
Yes.
It's
a good name. Humphrey, any Humphreys out there? You got a good name. Anyway, so yeah, he references it, which kind of feels like a little bit of a nod of like, we know this wasn't good in the book and we're just going to kind of call it out. It's one of those pieces that like, ooh, this has not aged well. This bit in this book has not aged well.
Yeah, that surprises me because in the movie it seemed it was like a taunt. It was making fun of him.
Because he wasn't being a peeping Tom in the movie. He was just throwing pebbles at the girl's window, a la say anything or whatever.
Yeah,
and is like just trying to chat with her.
Yeah, he was just trying to get her attention, and that's what you do. You throw rocks at the window. Small ones, obviously. Yeah.
Don't break any windows.
Yeah. And he was trying to get the attention of Victoria.
Yeah.
Who he thought was the love of his life.
Yeah. But one thing I do want to say right off the bat. So I listened to the audiobook of this, or I read the audiobook, and I will die on the hill of audiobooks are reading, but that is a digression. And there was an interview in the audiobook recording of Neil Gaiman talking about this book about how it came about, da da da. And he specifically said that a film was made of the book and it made him very happy.
Yeah. It's a good film.
It's a great film.
I really liked it. My general thoughts are I love this movie. It's great. It's got a little bit of everything. It's kind of every genre, but in a good way. Like, a lot of movies try to do everything.
Yeah.
And they don't really pull it off. But this one, it's got like fantasy and magic and action and adventure.
It's funny too.
It's funny.
It actually genuinely is funny.
Romance, a good love story.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But like there's character arcs and growth, like real like things. Again, a little bit of everything, something for everybody. I think it's. I'm kind of shocked, like having seen it a few times now, that it's not like a more talked about, like beloved film. I don't get it.
I know what you mean. I feel like this film kind of ran under the radar a little bit because it's kind of delightful.
Yeah,
but it's not really like one of those films that's super remembered, like either in its era or like in its genre or anything.
Yeah,
but it is delightful. I think those who are Neil Gaiman fans, there might be like a larger concentration of people who really love the film.
Sure.
So, I mean, I'm just guessing. I don't really know.
Yeah, but I don't really hear it discussed much. Maybe because it's not like, it's not something that like film nerds would be into, because it's kind of like light, popcorny kind of movie.
It's delightful though.
Yeah, but it never made the splash of, any kind of blockbuster film like a Jurassic Park or a Top Gun or
Lord of the Rings or something.
Yeah, something like that, know. Yeah, maybe something to have to do with some of like the high fantasy aspect of it. Fantasy movies sometimes kind of get pushed under the radar because maybe seen as like dorky or something like that. And some of that changed with Lord of the Rings, and now Game of Thrones is huge. But I think still to some degree, like those types of movies are seen as like kind of second class a bit.
I know what you mean. And I think that has changed a lot, thankfully. I don't think there's this vast or kind of like rigid differentiation between like, oh, this is dorky or whatever, or like this is nerdy because it's fantasy or whatever. I do think there are still people who kind of hold those ideas, but I don't think it's nearly as prevalent as it used to be. Saying that, however, there is still a little bit of like this is like at least in the book world, like this is genre fiction. Some people still don't like genre fiction.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, it's seen as like a genre type movie. I don't know. Maybe that's why I didn't catch on as much. I don't know. But would you say
great? It was 2007?
2007, yeah. When it came out.
Hard to say. But there are like a million movies made a year, so who even knows?
Yeah.
I don't remember what the marketing was at this time. Like, I think in 2007, I had just like graduated from college. So yeah, I don't really remember the marketing for this movie or anything. I don't know if it got a lot or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Claire Danes was the top billed, and I don't think she was ever like a big star.
No, she was, because in high school she was Juliet in Romeo and Juliet,
right?
And she played in something else that she was really big in, but I can't remember what it was. So I mean, Claire Danes was kind of having a bit of a moment,
right?
So yeah,
I mean, obviously, yeah, to be cast as a lead in any movie, you kind of have to be having a moment. But I don't think she was ever like a big like box office draw, definitely not on the level of like a Tom Hanks or something like that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if she was ever like an A-list type draw.
I feel like Tom Hanks is an unfair comparison though, because like
no, completely.
Dude is just a legend.
Yeah, or even like Hugh Jackman had a moment for a while where people were like really into Hugh Jackman. They would show up to see his movies.
I think people are still pretty into Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, but maybe that like I don't know if she even reached like that level. Maybe like flirted with that level, but I don't know.
I'm not sure. I don't remember a ton. I don't know. She also played in the non-musical movie version of Les Mis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, she was in something else at the time, but I don't remember what.
But I really like her in this movie. I think she's really well cast for that role. One, because she gets to play sort of out of place, sort of flustered, sort of
fish out of water.
Yeah.
Just star out of the sky.
Yeah. And she's really good at that. She's really good at playing like kind of manic energy type stuff where she gets to do that a little bit.
I don't think she has manic energy at all. I think she's assertive. She like owns herself.
Yeah.
Like she does have, I think, points in this movie where she doesn't have a ton of agency, but I don't think that's, well, no, I take it back. There are a couple of points where like she's not really exercising agency when like I would have liked to see her exercise agency. Mostly in the parts where, and we're gonna get to this obviously, but mostly in the parts where like Captain Shakespeare is kind of doing his facade and she's sort of being spoken of in like an objectified way kind of thing. And I know like me, again, I'm skipping ahead, but like me and that first mate have the same energy of just like rolling our eyes at this situation, like at this facade kind of thing. And I think maybe Claire Danes is sort of doing that same thing in those parts of like, okay, we're just going to kind of go through these motions, whatever.
Yeah. We'll get to that more in depth, but yeah, that's definitely a thing we'll talk about. But first, one of the first things we like to talk about is the steampunkness of the movie, right? That's the theme here, steam powered movies or watching steampunk films. So for you, Dana, what is steampunk about this movie?
Well, first of all, I think I kind of had in my head that it was more steampunk than I think it technically is. And again, this is being very picky, but I got like a lot more like kind of cottagecore energy from a lot of the scenes and whatnot.
And for anyone who doesn't know what that is.
Oh, do you not? Oh, cottagecore is kind of like, think like front lace corsets, think like that kind of like medieval dress kind of look, literal cottages, like fairies and like fairs that are in fields and stuff taking place. So more like medieval fantasy,
like Renaissance
kind of stuff.
Festival kind of
era, Renaissance
yeah.
Festival would be kind of a little bit more cottagecore, though. As soon as we start talking Renaissance Festival, it gets a little more complex. But anyway, so like more medieval fantasy.
Gotcha.
That's kind of what I mean by like cottagecore. But of course, we have the part with Captain Shakespeare and his airship and his crew,
yes,
which is just chef's kiss steampunk. I love it. I want to be a member of the crew. Please sign me up.
It's great. Yeah. I mean, in the very, very beginning, there's a scene where there's like a bunch of like telescopes and stuff that are kind of maybe.
Oh, right. When like it says like some this young boy like wrote a letter to
the Royal Society of something sciencey.
Which I don't think, did we ever find out like what it said?
No, it never came back. I actually honestly forgot about it.
I know, because like I was like,
there was no closure to that.
I don't really remember this part. I don't remember like what the answer was, because apparently like there just is no answer. And we don't even know what the question was. We just know like a young boy wrote a letter to an astronomer who thought it was like so silly that it might even be a prank, but he ended up writing back and told the boy that his question was foolish.
Oh, you know what?
And that was it.
Okay, well, now I can figure out what it is. I bet it was somebody writing to say that a star disappeared from the sky. And he was like, no, that doesn't happen. But
except that it does.
Well, it doesn't.
Eventually, as stars die, eventually they're like, will fade. It'll take, tons and tons of years, but that does happen.
But there was a reference somewhere in the middle where Tristan is talking to Claire Danes' character. I forget the star's actual name. Where
Yvain,
that's it.
Sorry, I was busy drinking wine.
Where they're talking, and as you do, and he references that she was like a prominent star in the sky, like not the North Star, but there was some name he gave. I could look it up. I don't care to, but I think there's some reference that she was like a prominent star in the sky that's now no longer there.
Oh,
I think that's what the letter at the beginning was referencing.
I missed that.
It seemed like some sort of like. Yeah, it seems like an odd framing device or odd entry point. But weird that it never came back.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, all the telescopes and stuff, but mostly it's the airship.
Yeah.
Yeah, the steampunk airship. The first shot you see of the crew, they're all wearing goggles.
Yeah.
Got the steampunk goggles.
They're catching lightning. It's
super cool.
Extremely cool.
Yeah, which, I don't know, I could have done with like a little more in depth on the lightning catching, how that works.
This is a really interesting thing about the book. Their little stint with Captain Shakespeare, first of all, I don't even know, I can't remember if he's even called Captain Shakespeare, but it's literally like maybe 2 pages long.
Really?
It's extremely short.
No way.
Yeah, and it's like basically like they're getting from here to there. That's it.
man.
Yeah, no, they changed things from the book quite a lot, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think in this case, like, it made the movie really, like, even more enchanting.
Yeah, I feel like that's, to me, at least, and the first time I saw this movie, that was like the turning point in the movie to me. Like, oh, okay, this is doing some interesting stuff. You know, it's throwing some curveballs. But then this time I noticed that that's where like a lot of the character development happens, or in those scenes. You know, Tristan kind of grows up and like learns to sword fight, and he has like sort of another mentor figure. You know, and that's where like the feelings for him, between him and Yvain, like kind of
They really
solidify.
kind of start to blossom,
Yeah. So it feels like a really important scene. Or scenes in the movie. So yeah, that's weird that the book was just like, oh yeah, they were there for a minute.
Yeah, no, like I said, they changed quite a few things from the book. I mean, like, I think these things they're good for the book, but I think that the changes were for the better as far as the medium of film goes. Like, for instance, every single year, a fair comes to the other side of the wall. And just during the time of that fair, people can cross the wall into fairyland. They can shop and, you know, buy from the fae folk and whatnot. And so, like, that was something that got changed. They, like I said, the part with Captain Shakespeare is much, much smaller in the book. In the book, I think the way it just wraps up is much less, like, or at least it's just a lot quieter, if I remember correctly. And like the curse on the princess Una is much different. Like, she's cursed until like a certain set of circumstances are met, which of course come to pass in the telling of the book and whatnot. And then like the ending is different as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, now that we mentioned ending, in case you don't know, spoilers. We talk about spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie, we're gonna spoil it. So if you don't want spoilers, watch the movie first, then hang out with us. But anyway, yeah. Speaking of that wall, though,
the ghosts aren't a thing either in the book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, and they're like such a fun part of the film.
I know.
Like I said, I think a lot of the changes that were made really served the film well.
Yeah. So the wall, first of all, like kind of the setting in the beginning. We'll kind of go back to the beginning a little bit. The wall, is it effective? Is that an effective wall? It's like 5 feet tall and there's a hole in it.
I'll tell you what. An old man with a long stick is very effective.
I mean,
I love that scene where he kind of knocks Tristan on his butt.
Right.
He's like,
right.
hata, hata, ta 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 ta.
Yeah, but like the youths of this town of Wall must
The
be like
youths.
they must be
The youths of this town.
as they would call them then, the youths. Yeah, they must be like the most well-behaved teenagers ever. That nobody tries to climb the wall except once every 20 years.
It is a thing in the book where like everyone just kind of like follows the rules.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, okay, sure. That would happen.
Yeah, there's some suspension of disbelief there for that part. It's like this very long, very short wall.
And mind you, so in the movie, it's just this very salty, delightful older gentleman who is guarding the wall. It's just him. But in the book, they have teams of two that are just, they kind of like draw lots and they are randomly picked to protect the wall. And that is a lot of trust just being put into two randos from the town. And like Tristan is put on guard duty, like in the going of the book.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's more, I like it more than it's just like one dude. And it is funny though. It's funny to me that there's a hole in the wall and instead of fixing the wall, they just post a guard. It's like, yeah, that's what you do in this small town.
Well, like I said, it makes sense if that fair comes every year for there to be a passage. But you're right. Like in the movie, like they just leave it, I guess.
Which is kind of hilarious though.
Yeah.
And so many things hinge on, people sneaking through this gap in the wall past this one guy, and it's pretty funny. But I did find it interesting that nobody else is sneaking around this guard guy. Just this one family, this one family that
they're the only ones who are kind of like bucking the system.
Yeah, but because they don't quite fit in. Which is kind of a theme, you know.
I kind of like that we got like a single dad situation in here. He was just like a chill single dad.
Although I really question the decision making of just dropping a baby on his doorstep when he's like, I don't know, 18.
I mean, I'm not sure what else they could do because Una said, I would have kept you if I could. So it sounds like the witch, Ditchwater Sal, did not let her. I get the feeling that like Ditchwater Sal made this decision for her.
Yeah, no, I just mean on the part of the townspeople that like, oh, this 18-year-old has a baby. Yeah,
Mike,
just let him take care of it.
Mike,
yeah.
It had his name on it. What else are you going to do?
I guess.
When
yeah.
like an orphan baby in a basket has your name on it.
I guess the welfare system in this small town is not very well developed or
They're
whatever.
just like, yep, here you go. Enjoy.
You made it. You take care of it.
Yeah.
Have fun. Yeah. Funny, I had forgotten rewatching this that the mom character
Mhm.
was actually the princess.
Mhm.
Because she says she was a princess, and I was like, in the beginning, this time through, I was like, wait, is she a fae? Because of the like, oh, this will cost all your memories before you were 3, or
No, she is a fae in the book. Like Tristan
Oh.
is basically half fae, but again, they've made a number of changes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess in the world in the movie, it's supposed to be like, oh, it's the fae witch that's in charge of the thing, the stand that's charging these prices.
Mm-hmm.
Where I was like, wait, are you a fae? These are kinds of weird deals you're making here, and this charm costs a kiss.
I mean, I like the vibe it gives. It's these are like magical prices.
Yeah, no, it's definitely cool and it fits. It's just I'd forgotten that that's actually the princess of all the people, the heirs that are named their numbers of birth.
Oh yeah, I oh my gosh, I love that family dynamic so much. Like terrible parentage.
Oh, the worst. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love
encouraging
it.
murder.
It's so good. And then like all the Ghost brothers just like hanging out until they're released into I guess the peace of death or whatever.
Yeah.
I love that. Like I love that whole dynamic. I love that like they die kind of in the way that they were killed. And so there's that one guy who's just like basically naked the entire time.
Oh yeah.
It's so good. Oh my gosh.
So undignified for all of them.
It's hilarious.
I like the one that got pushed off and his face is all smushed.
Oh yeah, his face is just like "Ugh."
Yeah, no. So I guess we're on to talking about our favorite things about this movie.
Yeah. There's so much.
That was definitely one of my favorite things was the peanut gallery.
Mm-hmm.
All the, the Statler and Waldorf of the film.
Yeah. And they're like, oh my gosh, look, you got the necklace. And dude is just like talking like, oh yeah, and all this stuff. Like, here's just my life story, even though you totally didn't ask for it. And they're like, oh my gosh, dude, she is wearing the necklace.
It's the largest in the land.
Oh my gosh.
She's like, well, good for you.
Yeah, and she's like trying to like politely back away. It's every woman has experienced this.
It was so funny though. That's I think the comedy mixed in. It's really good.
Perfect. It's so good.
And they don't overdo it with the peanut gallery ghosts,
Yeah.
They just kind of trickle in here and there, and different parts that they're just kind of observing and throwing in comments, but it's not like every 15 seconds joke, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the pacing of it is just right.
Yeah. Like I said, I love Captain Shakespeare. I love his crew. The whole like facade of being like a horrible person, I don't love because it just gets into like a couple of like, ooh, this is very dark. It's very dark. But like when he is like having his time by himself and he is just like living his joy, like who doesn't want to hold a dance party for themselves where they get to feel fabulous and whatnot? Like I was like, yes, my dude, like live your joy. I am 100% in support of you. And then like, I love it because like his whole crew is just like, it's fine. You're still you. Like we've known forever. Da da da.
Right.
Like, it's not a thing. And I just love it. Like that, like pure moment of like found family and like we love you no matter what. Oh my gosh, I want to be a member of the crew so bad.
That I kind of gave it away, but that's like my favorite part of the movie is the Captain Shakespeare part. I really like the dynamic of like he's keeping up the face of the tough like reputation, and he's a ruthless killer, but he's got all of these like workarounds to not actually hurt anybody, like the dummy out the window. He's got all these systems in place to like keep up the reputation, and I really like the dynamic of like they give it away in little hints and looks that at least the first mate knows what's up.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
The first mate, he's
like I said, same energy.
Yeah, and the first mate is like when the captain's talking and like a little higher pitched voice. He's like, and the captain's like, oh yeah, arr. like so the first mate's like looking out for him.
Yeah.
But in the end, you find out they all knew. Like they all knew, and they were. It's kind of sweet, that they were like putting on an act for each other.
Yeah.
Like even the crew was like putting on an act for the captain, who was putting on an act for them.
Yeah.
Like where does it even start or end? But I guess it was all in service of like his general reputation.
Yeah.
Which I understand, like you're in the world you live in, you kind of have to go along to a certain degree, I'm
not going to agree with that because I don't I think that could have been done with just a little bit more sensitivity, but like it was very much in like the right spirit of things. So I'm not really going to nitpick it that much. But there was a really good moment with the crew as well that I wanted to bring up with what is it, like when they get boarded by Septimus's men, and like the first mate kind of does like, oh look, I'm just gonna like bow to you, and then they use that as like a bait and switch where then they attack, and it's just like a beautiful, perfect pirate moment.
Yeah,
that's just I'm not gonna say the word. That or you have to bleep it since we are trying to not have to have an explicit rating on this podcast. But in what is it? Our Flag Means Death, where Captain Blackbeard, he calls it fiery.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just like one of those moments, and I love it so much. Like I want to be a pirate, but I want to be a pirate on like that kind of crew. A
fancy pirate. It would be a gentleman pirate.
Okay, Stede Bonnet is a gentleman pirate.
That's right, gentleman pirate.
Yeah.
No, but Captain Shakespeare is the original gentleman pirate.
I love him so much.
Yeah. Him and the crew is all great. I like that his introduction, he does this whole tough guy thing, and then they get behind the doors and he's like, well, that went well, I think.
Yeah.
My gosh. The whole like fake murdering him and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great.
Switching subjects slightly, I also got very strong Hocus Pocus vibes from the witch sisters.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like not like spot on, and I don't know if inspiration was taken from the Sanderson sisters, but boy howdy, do they look similar. Like you have a blonde, you have a redhead, and you have a brunette. They're not playing the same roles, but they have very, very like similar vibes.
Yeah.
Were you allowed to watch Hocus Pocus as a child? Have you ever seen it?
I have seen some of it. I don't remember. I know what you're talking about though.
Okay. Well, Halloween is coming. We will rectify this.
Maybe we'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Add it to our list of things to watch together. One other thing on the captain, they threw in little hints. This is what things that amaze me. That you said it's only like 2 pages in the book, that because it's so fleshed out in the movie that he's not actually hinted that he's not a very good captain at all.
Except that's like, I think that's part of like what makes him a really good captain is that like he not that like he doesn't believe in himself. Like that's not what I mean, but like because he's not like, he knows he's not that sort of captain. And I think not being that sort of captain is kind of what makes him a great captain.
Yeah, but there was one little part that I liked where he's steering the ship through the storm or something, and he's like got the wheel, and then at some point he gets off the wheel, and one of the other crew members comes over and grabs the wheel, and he gives a look like, oh, we made it through that. Like, I guess like somebody competent is now steering.
I don't know that I would read that into it.
I did. I thought it was funny.
I mean, it's good. Like, but the crew is very clearly like they look out for each other. Like that was transmitted beautifully. Like when Captain Shakespeare is dancing with Yvain on the deck, and she's like shining, and she's all happy, and he's like, I know what you really are, just so you know. But then like she's scared, and he's like, nobody here's gonna hurt you. Don't you worry. Like we got your back. And like it's so good. Like that whole like found family, like we watch out for each other. I love it. I love it so much.
So one of my other favorite things about this movie is really just like Tristan's arc. And it's really shown in the scenes at the window, at Victoria's window. Because there's the one at the beginning where he's trying to get her attention, and he thinks that she's the only girl for him, and he's trying to win her over, even though she's gonna marry this Humphrey character who later turns out maybe he's actually gay.
Oh, they 100% hinted at that. Yeah.
Yeah. But they're kind of like the inevitable couple in town. and so Tristan's like pining after her and all this stuff. And then there's the window scene at the end, which is one of my favorite things, where he comes back to, I guess, just to close the loop with her, be like,
yeah,
here, I did this thing I said I was going to do. I'm honoring my word. I'm bringing back a part of the star. But then, Humphrey comes along and thinks he's going to, shoo off Tristan again. And he's like, on guard, like, I'm real deal.
He's
now.
got like a proper sword.
He's got a proper sword. Like, he can defend himself. He's confident. Like, shows how much he's changed just in his personality and stuff. And then, but right before that, the conversation he has with Victoria when she comes down, she's like, oh, you know what I really want? And like, now she's lusting after him because he like is handsome and capable now. And he's like, yeah, grow up and get over yourself. Like, I just thought that was great. Just the arc of like, it's what he thinks he wants the whole time, but then he like realizes.
I mean, it's very, very much that like need versus want kind of struggle. I will say Tristan was not my favorite. And this is not the reason why he's not my favorite, but he is very dumb. Tristan is very dumb, at least in my view. I mean, like, some of it is just like naivete kind of thing. But I will say I don't really get his thing with taking a lock of Yvain's hair, because I think the idea was that like, oh, it's going to continue to shine because she was shining at the time. But I thought it stopped shining once it was detached from her, kind of in the way Rapunzel's hair turns brown when it's cut off in Tangled. At least I didn't see it continue to shine. Maybe I just missaw. But like, and then I was like, this doesn't prove anything. Like, I could take a lock of your hair and be like, I took this from Tom Hiddleston, like a creep. But
right. Yeah, I don't know. That part is probably one of the weaker like plot points. That he like sneaks off, and then Yvain asks this drunk innkeeper.
Oh my gosh, like that. You're right. Yeah, that plot point's not the best. Like I mentioned while we were watching, is like she is taking the word of this man who's drinking scotch at like 7 a.m. He may not be the most reliable witness.
Right. And Tristan's not like, no, write it down. He's like, yeah, I got you, bro. And it just kind of goes with it.
You could just leave a note.
Yeah, you could leave a note. Yeah, that was probably the weakest point. Like, I get the motivation for Tristan to want to go back and like I said, like close the loop with Victoria.
Yeah,
be
that's
like,
fair.
I promised this to you. Here's the thing, but you know what? I'm moving on. This is not my thing anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way it went sort of comedy of errors, for a minute. Yeah. There, which leads to and there are a lot of convenient things. Maybe I don't know if you count. We're supposed to talk about things we didn't like as much about the film. Maybe I'll say just there were a lot of convenient things happen. A lot of happy coincidences. Well, and that's kind of just how these adventure films go sometimes. Like when they end up in the clouds, Captain Shakespeare happens to come by and scooped them up in a net.
I mean,
you got that
he
thing.
Is a lightning capturer.
You have the Deus Ex unicorn. That just shows up in the middle of
nowhere. The unicorn does just show up. That's true.
Extremely convenient unicorn.
Although I'm kind of here for it because like the fantasy novel, like, yeah. And I kind of see it as like, why wouldn't you have a unicorn show up to carry a star? That's just like peak fantasy vibes. And I love it.
Well, yeah.
I'm okay with it.
And then so unicorn takes her away and then Tristan's sleeping on the tree and the stars just talk to him. Just this one time, they're like, hey, she's in trouble. You should go do something. Just to like, that's the only thing that pushes him forward.
I mean, okay, I'll grant you, like, it may not be like the strongest thing, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, no, and again, this is nitpicking. Like, I'm generally like okay with all these things, but there are a lot of convenient things, and then also at the end when she takes the word of the drunk innkeeper and starts just wandering off to her doom. The princess sees her walking by and chases after her. Yeah, and she's the one that keeps her from walking past the wall. Yeah. Sort of convenient, but also believable that she's walking through this small fair area and she is seen.
I like that she is going though. Like she's not just sort of aimlessly walking. She it looks like she's going to go confront Tristan, which I think is a thing that a lot of like rom-com type films do, where like it's the, dark night of the soul kind of thing. The person is kind of aimless and whatnot. And I feel like at least in this moment, I don't think she was aimless. Like she was going. She's like, I'm going to go find him. I know where he is.
I mean, she was clearly depressed.
Yeah. But she was going to find Tristan.
Yeah. I kind of wondered if she knew that if she crossed the wall that she would turn into a lump of
I don't think she
rock.
did.
I guess not.
No, because like Una tells her,
Yeah.
like, you will die.
Yeah, she didn't seem to be walking with the purpose of someone
No,
who's
she
going...
wasn't angry. Like, she was very clearly hurt.
Yeah.
But I do think she was going to find Tristan.
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
I don't know why
sense.
else she would go to Wall specifically.
No, you're right. Yeah, that wouldn't make any sense any other way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, though, like, any of the quote-unquote, like, critiques that I have about this film are very minor, because I do really like it. I do think the second half is much stronger than the first. There's a lot of, like, setting up in the first half.
Sure.
There's a lot of exposition, but even parts of that are really good. Like, again, I love the family dynamic of like this incredibly toxic family that just like is murdering each other left, right, and center.
The king
so
was
that
even
setup
like
is great.
The king was even encouraging. He's like, "Look out the window."
Yeah, and then
look
when you
over
guys
the window.
go,
They're like, "Come on, shove him over the edge."
Yeah,
and he's laughing when it happens. Murder is funny in this film.
Like that dynamic is just amazing. I love it so much.
I'm just gonna throw out some other random funny things.
Yeah.
Because we mentioned there's some good comedy throughout here.
Yeah,
I
it's
just wrote
some
down
great comedy.
Some things. When just the whole scene where Yvain is confessing her love to Tristan when he's a mouse.
Mm-hmm.
One, that's funny. And then also describing love as strangely easy to mistake for loathing. Thought that was a great quote.
Mm-hmm.
The name of the pub where they stay that one night is called The Slaughtered Prince.
Right. Because
that's something that happens there all the time. The princes are slaughtered.
I think that might be a reference to that family.
Yeah.
I'm not 100%
it has
sure.
to be.
Yeah, I think that like maybe the entire Fae Kingdom is Stormhold in this story.
Well, that's the whole kingdom that we know of.
Yeah, we know of. Like where all of this is kind of happening.
Yeah. You kind of get the idea that Stormhold is kind of this like bubble universe kind of thing next to England.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, and the king talks about that he had 12 brothers and he murdered all of them.
Yeah.
So prince murdering is a pretty big business.
It's a big hobby. Yeah,
it's very common. So the Slaughtered Prince is a perfectly great name for a pub. The Animal Revenge at the end.
Yeah, that's right. I'd actually forgotten about that, and it was really nice to see.
Yeah, I like that it kind of offsets a thing that's earlier on that you're like, oh, this is really upsetting and disturbing, where they're like murdering these animals to read the entrails. And it's kind of just thrown in there and not really addressed very much.
And then it comes back.
But it comes back that Tristan frees them and they get to have their revenge.
Yeah.
So I like closing the loop on that. And then,
well, it also kind of addresses a thing. There's a line, and it's so quick that like you may not notice it. So it's the part where he and Yvain are hiding in a bush, and he says to her, and he's joking, but he says to her like, "Do you honestly think I could kill anyone?" And he isn't actually the one who kills anyone.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Septimus kills the one witch when he throws his sword. The animals are technically the ones who kill the second witch, even though he's the one who released them. But fair dues, because they've been sacrificing them to read their entrails, throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And then Yvain is the one who kills Lamia.
Sure. Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah. I've butchered that, and I apologize. But yeah, she's technically the one who kills her.
Wow.
Tristan never actually kills anyone.
Yeah, well spotted.
Cheers.
Yeah. Another bit of small trivia. This movie has ties to the last movie that we watched.
Which one?
And that is The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Really?
The actor who plays the brother Primus, who is the kinder one.
Oh, right. The benevolent one.
The benevolent one. He's the one that plays Dr. Jekyll in
right.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Yeah.
That's right. I did see him on the cast list, but I didn't clock it really at the time. I was like, oh, he's in this too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
there's a great cast. We were talking about how Julian Reintut, who you didn't know who that was, but he plays Ulyaban in the BBC comedy Welcome to Our Village, Please Invade Carefully. He was Quartus.
Okay.
Yeah, Ian McKellen, narrator.
Yep.
Who's the other one? Oh, Mark Strong.
Yeah,
a very young Mark Strong.
Mark Strong, it was great as Septimus. He's just a great like villain character.
He's great in everything because he was in Kingsman as well.
Yep.
As Merlin, and he's fantastic in that. He was honestly my favorite character in Kingsman.
Kingsman, same director as this movie, Matthew Vaughn.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did his movies. As well as a few other films that I like as well. Like he did Kick-Ass and X-Men First Class and Layer Cake.
I think one of the writers on this film was also a writer on Kick-Ass.
Yeah. Yeah, you do find that a lot in Hollywood circles, that people who work on films together like team up again later on.
That makes sense. Like, hey, that person was fun to work with. I'd like to work with them again.
Yeah, especially I think if things are good, like the things they do together or turn out to be, good movies, then I think that happens more often. And yeah, those things he worked on, I liked a lot of that stuff. I have to point out my least favorite thing. Do you have a least favorite? We haven't gotten to you yet.
Just generally, and again, this is a little bit nitpicky because I think the spirit was right, but maybe the application I didn't love was just like the like we're kind of not even kind of like we're pointing at rape, like we're kind of pretending that rape is happening, and it doesn't make me feel good. But again, I understand like it's part of the charade and all that kind of stuff with good intentions behind it. So honestly, like again, I'm being nitpicky. If I had to choose a least favorite thing, that would be it.
Gotcha. Mine was Ricky Gervais.
I love his part, possibly because like he gets his comeuppance.
That's my favorite part of it. But I did think
it was a good interaction where Captain Shakespeare is like, no, it's 200.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the first time I watched this film, I liked it more. This time around, I feel like Ricky Gervais's presence just doesn't age as well because his way of speaking and his mannerisms didn't fit the time, like the setting. It's very much just Ricky Gervais being himself.
I do feel like Ricky Gervais usually just plays himself. Right. I don't think he's got a ton of range, but I also don't think that's his intention to have a ton of range. Like I think his intention is to just sort of play himself. Yeah,
to me it felt like it dated it. It dates the movie a little bit to like the 2000s, the early 2000s, mid 2000s. Just him being in it and playing himself. I feel like if they had someone in there who was playing a little bit more of a character that fit the
like I could
setting.
see James Corden doing that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head like who would I put there instead. But it does pay off that like his character's annoying and dumb and he gets he gets comeuppance in the end. Yeah. He can only speak in animal noises, and then, then he is no more. So, but yeah, I thought that was just the part that didn't age the best for me.
I will say it doesn't age well for me because at the time when this came out, I liked Ricky Gervais, and now he's shown himself to be a huge transphobe. So I don't like him at all anymore. But then again, like I said, he gets what's coming to him. So I was like, okay, this works out.
Yeah. Sidebar. I do think his comedy turned more into just being mean.
Yeah.
Like, and kind of the definition of punching down. That's just all he does.
Yeah.
Seems to be kind of his whole entire thing. Yeah. So not as funny to me. So, yeah. So we've kind of touched on a lot of things here.
There's just a lot to like about this film. I'm gonna say one more thing, and I think that's the dynamic where Lamia, she curses Ditchwater Sal to not perceive the star in any way, shape, or form.
Oh yeah, it's great.
And then, oh my gosh, and then Yvain like shows up and she's like, you can't see or hear me, can you? And like just that whole interaction is very good. That is something that's from the book as well. And like I just love it. It's so just clever and it comes in so handy and it's just very cool. It's not a thing that I feel like I've seen hardly at all, if ever, where like you have a character who is invisible to just one other character, and it's done very effectively. I love it.
Yeah, I kind of actually wish that I had a memory of that playing into more scenes.
Uh-huh.
It actually only really applies to like 2 scenes, I think, in the film, where after the curse happens, where she can't see her.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of had a memory of it coming.
No, it comes in 3.
3?
Yeah, because
okay.
there's also a very, very short sequence when Captain Shakespeare has just made the deal. Ditchwater Sal walks through and just doesn't see Yvain.
Right. Yeah, so it's brief there, but yeah. But yeah, no, that's a great little thing.
Mm-hmm.
I as with, I think, the whole like plotting of the film, the convenient things that happen aside,
mm-hmm.
one thing leads to another very easily,
mm-hmm.
As far as what drives the story forward. And I think it's really well written. Obviously the book, I'm sure, was very carefully planned and plotted and everything.
Sure.
But adapted very well to this
mm-hmm.
movie. And it's super fun.
Yeah. Neil Gaiman was happy with it.
Yeah.
Very happy.
And I'm happy. So I highly recommend this film. If at this point you haven't seen the movie, I recommend watching it.
It is very fun.
So with that recommendation, we're going to give some ratings
Yay!
To this film. So first, we're going to rate how steampunk is this movie. We're going to give it on 1 to 5 steam engines. Dana, what would you say? How steampunk is this movie?
I do only think it's probably like, I'm going to say like 2 out of 5 steam engines. I almost said 1 just because like I think pretty much it's just Captain Shakespeare and his airship and the crew.
Yeah.
But like it's so perfect. It's so good. I'm going to go ahead and give it 2 out of 5.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, not a lot of steampunk to it,
but what is there is just perfect.
Yeah, and I think to me that's a pivotal part of the movie and
mm-hmm.
some of the best scenes. So yeah, I think 2 is fair. But it qualifies. It has steampunk in it.
Yeah.
It's a steampunk film. We got it in there. Now, just rate it on your personal enjoyment. You're on 1 to 5 gears. Dana, what's your scale? How much did you just enjoy? How much do you enjoy this film?
I think, okay, this might be a little surprising considering how much praise we've given it, but I do think it's only like 4 out of 5 for me. 4 out of 5 gears.
Okay.
Just because, I mean, I do love this film. It is very good. There's a lot to love about it. But I did find myself a little bored in it. There's just a few places.
Really?
Just mostly in the beginning, because again, the beginning has a lot of setup, a lot of exposition. But I mean, it's a great film. It's a really fun watch. It's a delightful way to spend an afternoon, especially if you haven't seen it. And this is possibly because I have seen it so many times.
And you did just read the book too, so maybe some of the setup was a little bit of a rehash
Samey.
for you.
Yeah.
Well, for me, second time I'd seen this movie, I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5 top hats.
This is only the second time?
I think so. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I think we own this film.
Yeah, but maybe third. Anyway, I had forgotten a lot of it.
Okay.
So I enjoyed the world setup and building in the beginning and all the story afterwards. So 5 out of 5 top hats from me.
Delightful.
I highly recommend it. Enjoyed it. Great movie.
I think I've probably just seen it a lot more than you.
Maybe that's it.
I think that's all there is.
Well,
can I say like I'm gonna change mine a little bit? Maybe like 4.5.
4.
Yeah, we're gonna get into like decimal places, guys.
Oh no, we're getting granular. 4.5. All right, 4.5, 5. It's a good movie. If any of you people listening have any thoughts on this movie or other movies you think we should watch for this podcast, tweet it at us. We're at SteamPoweredPod on Twitter. So send us your thoughts. Send us your suggestions.
What movies do you think we should talk about?
Yeah, maybe there's a steampunk movie out there that we don't know about.
Possible.
Yeah, tweet at us again at SteamPoweredPod. We'll put it on our list. Maybe we'll give you a shout out if you recommend a film that we cover. We'll shout you out.
Also, tell us why you think it's steampunk, because there are some that have steampunk parts, but maybe they're like really short, and so it may not be immediately obvious that it's a steampunk film. So be sure to like let us know what in the film you think makes it qualify as a steampunk film.
Yes, please do. And if you're enjoying this, please leave a review, maybe subscribe to this podcast, and give us a rating on your iTunes or
Definitely
Spotify.
subscribe to this podcast.
Yes, please.
I'm going to come in strong and say definitely do it.
Yes, please do it. Definitely do it. And we will catch you next time on Steam Powered Movies. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Cheers.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
All right, that's it.